Ayoko na, ang hirap-hirap!
With so many things that are happening this time of the pandemic, it can cause so many things to us, including our fear of the unknown, sometimes stress, depression, anxiety, and we kind of lose our motivation. But of course, what's really important to remember is that after all of these things that are happening, everybody has to move on, including you. And what that means is that while we are going through all of this, we have to keep our motivation. And that's what we will be talking about in today's session. Good day, and welcome to another edition of Nukie's Nook, where we will be talking about personal and professional development. My name is Nukie, and I am your certified human resource professional and life coach. In this edition, we will be talking about this by sharing some tips based on Brian Tracy. He is an American, Canadian motivational speaker and also a self development author. And he spoke about how to keep yourself motivated during the rough times. Now, of course, we will be using this and we will be relating this to the Filipino experience as well as the challenges of the current time. The first step in managing your motivation through tough times is to recognize your fear. And by recognizing it, you would be able to stay calm. So marami po sa atin hindi natin nare-realize na kapag po tayo ay may fears, katulad po sa mga nangyayari ngayon, ang unang-una po nating tendency is to look for someone to blame. And we have seen this happen in social media. We can see people blaming each other, the government, certain groups, China, and many others. And this in one way or another is affected by their fear response. But one thing you want to remember so that you can keep yourself motivated is that joining that blame game doesn't help anyone. Hindi ka matutulungan yan. So ang gusto mong mangyari is to take responsibility. So you'd like to say to yourself, I am responsible. Because you are. You are responsible to what will happen to you after this pandemic. And if you know and recognize that you are responsible, you will be able to better manage your own fear and stay calm despite any circumstances. So once you're calmed down, tip number 2 is get the facts. You need to ask questions and you need to be inquisitive. So you ask questions, ano ba talaga ang nangyari? Ano ang punot dulo ng mga nangyari? How does this relate to what's going on in my life? How does this affect everyone involved? So ito po yung mga tanong gusto nating malaman kung saan nagmula yung problema or yung issue at malaman din kung ano ang mga implikasyon nito because it will lower our stress level if we know what we're dealing with. Sabi nga po nila, no, mas nakaka-uneasy kapag hindi mo alam kung ano ang haharapin mo. So by asking questions, you'd be able to get to a better position in coming up with a possible solution dun po sa kinakaharap mong rough time or issue. Of course, our next step is to think of possible solutions and alternatives. If you have already asked the question, ano ba yung naging source o pinagmulan ng problema, mas madali kang makakaisip ng kung paano mo ito isosolve. But sometimes you may not be able to solve the question or the problem totally. So pwede mo namang itanong, what are some of the things that I can do to minimize the damage? Sometimes you can also ask the questions, are there other alternatives that I can take? Or maybe you can also think with a better question such as, are there opportunities that I can take advantage of despite the situation? Halimbawa na lang po, no, pwedeng ang isang example ay ang naging problema, nawalan ka ng trabaho. Well, you cannot immediately take that away or solve that right away. Pero ang pwede mong gawin ay mag-isip, may iba ba akong alternatibo? Pwede ba akong humanap ng racket na mapagkakakitaan in the interim? Or maybe you can look for opportunities. Nawalan ako ng trabaho dahil sa pandemic, magbibenta ako ng mask. Because this is something that people need. But of course, this process requires creativity on your part. Now, if you think that you could not come up with a possible solution for the rough times that you're facing, then don't worry, we still have the next step to help you. The next step in keeping motivated is to communicate with others. So minsan wala kang masyadong idea na maisip kung paano makakapag-rise up sa occasion. So sometimes you can also ask your friends, ask your immediate peers, maybe some members of your community. They might be able to help you come up with the ideas. And even if they don't come up with the ideas, it's still very helpful to communicate because most importantly, you need to address how you feel at the moment. When you are faced with rough times, it's inevitable that you feel down, you feel a little depressed, and when you speak to someone about it, it helps you minimize those feelings, no? Mas natutulungan mo yung sarili mo na maka-move on kapag iyan ay kinuwento mo sa iba. But if you are a business leader or somebody who holds a high position, you may not be able to just share to anyone how you feel. So maybe talk to your manager or maybe a peer who you can trust and can keep the information confidential. It is very important, however, that you really talk about these things during the time that you are facing your roughest, because it will really make sure that you keep yourself motivated. So you have done everything. You have asked the right questions, identified the problem, its implications. You also have your steps to do, and you've also spoken with others, so you can feel refreshed and relieve your own emotions and stresses. So what's the next step? Of course, the next step would be to get busy. If you have plans, if you have goals that you have set, then you work on all those goals. What are the next steps? What are the things that you need to do to get there closer? And this would be keeping you busy. For example, in the midst of this crisis, sabi mo, ay, kailangan kumita ng pera. Yan ang end goal ko. And how do I do that? Sabi mo, I will have an online store, for example. So what are some of the things that can get you busy and closer there? First, nag-research ka, o paano ba ako makakapagsimula ng online store ko? O paano ba ako magre-register sa BIR? O paano ko ba pwedeng kuhanin or saan ako pwedeng kumuha ng supplier ko ng mga ibebenta ko? So you ask all of these questions, you research, you find out, and then you come up with a written plan. By the end of the day, you get too busy that you don't have the time to worry about what other people would say, even if they have negative feelings about you starting up your online store. The more important thing here is that you are doing something to address the issue. So, we hope that you learned a thing or two from our discussion and you know how to keep yourself motivated during these tough times. Now, if you would like to hear more personal and professional development tips from us, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button or give us a like on our Facebook. Now, remember, here at Competad, we want you to have the competitive advantage. Bye for now.